the Arsenal manager, and before that, Mauricio Pochettino reflecting on Tottenham's 2-0 victory over Arsenal in the North London derby at White Hart Lane. Moose joins us now. Finally. Moose, what have you been doing?
I've been interviewing both managers and also Heung-min Son.
What time did the game finish?
The game, listen, you want to compare this to last night, right? Two fighters finished at, about 11 o'clock, just shy of. Joshua didn't roll up to do his press conference until 1:15.
Right, okay. Well, we've heard from Arsene Wenger.
Happy to still be here.
Okay, well, we finally heard from Arsene Wenger and Mauricio Pochettino. So thanks for scurrying away down in the tunnel area at White Hart Lane for us. Can you just judge? We heard from Pochettino, we heard from Wenger, but can you just tell us what the mood was like for those two managers? Because obviously there's an edge. It's a derby, the two teams, and we know the history, of course. But what was the mood like?
Yeah, but I mean, Pochettino was obviously happy, beaming. Nothing went wrong for his team today. I slightly annoyed the press officer when I said, "Well, you should have had 5 or 6 goals." He understood where I was coming from with that, but he said it's hard to score 5 or 6 goals in a Premier League game, let alone a derby match. But I thought they could easily have had that many today if Petr Cech hadn't been in top form and they hadn't missed those 2 sitters in the first half. Arsene Wenger was angry, and what was angering him more than anything else was that he believes Harry Kane dived for the penalty. We asked him, we said, did you think it was a penalty? He went no. And then when we said, do you think Harry Kane dived for the penalty? He went yes. So that's clearly where he's coming from on that one.
Do you think he did?
I haven't seen a replay, but on first evidence, I thought it got touched. But I mean, I would say that because I'm seeing it from a sideways angle. I mean, I'm not as close as the referee Michael Oliver was, who did think long and hard about giving it. I remember saying in my report on the penalty that he did think long and hard about giving it, and you have to go what the referee has decided on that one. Then I asked Wenger about whether or not the display today was as bad as the one at Crystal Palace, and he said no, it wasn't. He actually thought his team were better than they were at Palace, and they were in the game until 1-0, although he did concede right at the end that Spurs deserved to win the match. But I thought Arsenal were poor today. I think questions now not only need to be asked by everybody about whether or not Arsenal are going to finish top 4, about whether Arsene Wenger is going to stay, but when are we finally going to see a game where Mesut Ozil actually looks like a world-class player, or a player that they paid close on 50 million quid for? Because again today he was an absolute passenger. I mean, they may as well have played with 10 men for most of the game. I didn't even know he was on the pitch.
Hi Moose, Matt Hughes here. You well?
Hi Matt, you alright?
Yeah, good, thanks. Did Arsene Wenger, I imagine he was fairly bad mood after the game. Did he concede the top 4 is looking very difficult now, or is he sort of still trying to talk a good game?
No, he's still trying to talk a good game, and the reason is because the other results today went in his favour. Now, I actually said to him that on Wednesday after the game with Leicester, I spoke to you and you said that you needed to win the last few games to get in the top 4. Do you still stand by that? And he said, I tell you now what I told you on Wednesday after the Leicester game, that yes, if we win all our games, we've got a chance of getting in the top 4. And I guess that City's draw, United's draw today means that Arsenal have only really lost 1 point on those 2 rivals. But I think this team won't get in the top 4. I mean, they're not good enough to get in the top 4.
Why didn't Ozil get going this afternoon? It's a big game. Everyone's watching. Everyone's okay. Come on, then. Let's perform. Let's show what you've got. Let's do it. Got a job to do here. Beat Leicester in the week. Very, very lucky to do that. Manchester City drew at Middlesbrough Moose. Manchester United drew at home to Swansea. Why aren't those guys showing up?
Do you know what? I've seen an awful lot of Arsenal this season, and I can't really remember a game where I've walked away thinking, do you know what, Mesut Ozil there was fantastic. Mesut Ozil there took the game by the scruff of the neck. He drove Arsenal forward. He's done this, he's done that. I know he's got a lot of assists, but he takes all the corners and free kicks. He's going to get a lot of assists. But, he doesn't... For me, the only player that really pulls their weight in terms of effort and in terms of, you think, you know what, that's why Arsenal paid the money for him, is Alexis Sanchez. I think Mesut Ozil is a luxury player that Arsenal cannot afford to have in their team at the moment. And yet... curiously, he plays completely differently when he's in a German shirt. I don't know why that is. Obviously, Arsene Wenger's never prepared to drop him. He plays every week. I think that's maybe annoying to some Arsenal fans. It's certainly perplexing to somebody like me. But it's hard to ask a manager to dig out one individual player, as you know, Ash, after a game at a press conference. The manager will always defend the one player by talking about the collective.
Yeah, so unless it's Mourinho.
Unless it's Mourinho, yes.
What was What was Sanchez's body language like today? Because it's been awful at times during the season. And you know what? As much as we slaughter Ozil, who is not my sort of player at all, I've never been a fan. But you know what? To me, Sanchez is part of the problem. He gives the illusion of effort. He shoots from stupid positions. He doesn't play balls. He doesn't play colleagues in at times he should. And what was he like today? What was his, demeanour?
His demeanour, I thought his demeanour as he walked off was one of somebody who's fed up. Now, I mean, it's easy to say that when you know that he obviously wants a new contract or wants more money. Let's put it like that. I think he's fed up, and although he's got a year left in his contract, and again, although Arsene Wenger keeps saying that he will stay and he'd rather he went next season for nothing rather than sell him this summer, I would be amazed if he lines up in an Arsenal shirt in August. I mean, like you say, his demeanour all season has been wrong, I think is the word I would use, and certainly he looked thoroughly fed up as he walked off the pitch tonight.
Yeah, we need to see a lot more from him over the last 5 games in Arsenal's case, before the season is through. Moose, thanks very much for joining us. Thanks very much for bringing us up to date with everything that Mauricio Pochettino and Arsene Wenger said this evening after Tottenham's victory over Arsenal at White Hart Lane. Next up on the press pass, we're going to move towards the bottom of the table, and Sunderland, David Moyes said it was his worst day in football after they were relegated from the Premier League yesterday.